It's Dr. Geoffrey here. Thank you very much for joining me. I am Dr. Geoffrey, crisis and split-second decisions expert. I go around the country and I teach experts, executives, and teams how to manage crisis management, as well as split-second decisions. What we have going on in this country now has changed the paradigm. It's changed the dynamic. The COVID crisis has caused leadership disruption at all levels. In fact, it's caused us to have to step up our leadership. And leadership is real simple. If you look, I did a review of the literature. What I found is that the 522 articles that define leadership they defined it 122 different ways. But here's the point. Most people don't want to lead because of the fear of the consequences. During COVID, we don't need fear. We need a certain leadership type. And that leadership type is the direct leadership type. The direct leadership type sets the tone, the goals, and tells people what to do. If you're a leader within your own family, that's what we have to do during COVID. Let me connect dots. COVID has escalated and gone far beyond anyone's imagination from 6 months ago. The numbers that we are experiencing now are far beyond what we ever thought. And yes, things are moving fast. Things are as serious as they say they are. And while we all, as the leaders within your household, the leaders within your organization, we always talk about the masks, the social distancing, and the ventilation. Keep doing those things. But now, because of crisis, we have to step up and add and go and go beyond our limits. There are 3 vitamins, which are provable and shown to play a role in the prevention of you getting COVID. And if you get COVID, decreases the likelihood of you having a negative outcome. It decreases the likelihood of you having a negative outcome. Before I move forward, let me just say this. Anything I say should not be taken as medical advice, just medical information. For the dosages that I'm going to share with you, that's for informational purposes only. If you cut and paste the toolkit that I have in there, you can go to that site and download much of this information that I am presenting to you now. But again, this is really about leadership and leadership as it relates to COVID. Now, we've already talked several times about vitamin D. Vitamin D has been shown to decrease, being vitamin D normal, meaning not being vitamin D deficient, has been shown to decrease in some studies the likelihood of dying of COVID by 12 times, 10 to 12 times to decrease. Hence, it's very important for people to be vitamin D normal, not vitamin D deficient. The at-risk populations are older people because of the skin changes. Older people, black, white, purple, and green. Darker skinned people are more likely to be vitamin D deficient. In fact, in this country, 34% of Americans are vitamin D deficient, but yet 82% of Black Americans are vitamin D deficient. 72% of Hispanics are vitamin D deficient. Why? Here's why. The darker your skin, the less efficient you are at converting sunlight to vitamin D. 80% of our vitamin D comes from the sun. 80% comes from the sun. How does vitamin D work? This outside of the scope, you should look at some of my other lives. But in short, it helps modulate, it helps control our immune response. The way that COVID works, this is very macro level, And if you are a scientist, you may be offended by how I'm breaking this down. But at a very macro level, COVID, it causes an overreaction of our immune system. What does vitamin do? It helps regulate that. Hence, the recommendation is for vitamin D, for maintenance, for prevention, 1 to 3,000 units per day. 1 to 3,000 units per day. Talk to your primary care doctor, of course. FYI, Dr. Fauci takes 6,000 units per day. If you are home treating and you're COVID positive, the recommendation is 2 to 5 units per day. Again, 2 to 5 units per day. That is the recommendation if you're home treated. Now, let's get to zinc. Zinc is another known mineral, another known supplement or vitamin that helps modulate the immune response. We have this data from prior to COVID that zinc helped with viral illnesses. Now, as it relates to COVID, we have some data that shows that as well. But by the way, up to 40% of American citizens are deficient in zinc, especially the elderly. 70% of zinc deficient patients develop complications as it relates to COVID. 70% of zinc deficient patients develop complications as it relates to COVID, whereas only 30% develop complications in this particular study. What does zinc do? Zinc increased levels of zinc lowers viral replication. Increased levels of zinc lower viral replication. Increased levels of zinc decrease the inflammation of the virus. Don't forget, the virus is causing an overreaction of our immune system. And then people with low levels of zinc, with low levels of zinc, are 2.3 more likely to die in the hospital if they get COVID. Hence, the recommended dose are zinc 30 to 50 milligrams per day for prevention. 30 to 50 milligrams per day for prevention. If you're home treating, meaning you're COVID positive and you're staying home, obviously you're in consultation with your doctor, the recommended dose is 75 to 100 milligrams per day. 75 to 100 milligrams per day. I have to say it again. Please consult with your doctor. None of this should be taken as medical information, just medical advice. You're saying, wait, Dr. Geoffrey, after all this time you are giving dosages? Yes, we are in a crisis. Prevention, being leaders within our own household, within our own community is key. And what I call on my listeners to do is go out and be super users. Share this information with other people. Teach other people. Attached is a bit.ly. A bit.ly is, if you hear for the toolkit, cut and paste that, put it in your browser. It gives you access to most of this information. And then the third supplement that's highly recommended is melatonin. Yes, melatonin. Even prior to COVID, melatonin showed great benefits as relates to viruses, especially things like SARS, viral hepatitis, viral myocarditis, Ebola. The mechanism of how melatonin works has shown that that melatonin is helpful as it relates to viral diseases. Melatonin has shown that people who take their melatonin, they're 30% less likely to contract COVID. 30% less likely to contract COVID. That is a big deal. Then you add on there the benefits of zinc and vitamin D. You're a lot further ahead of the game. What is the mechanism? The mechanism is this. It decreases inflammation in the lungs, has an antioxidant effect, and there's a sedation effect, meaning it helps with your anxiety, and therefore you get improved sleep. The preventive dose, the preventive dose of melatonin is 0.3 milligrams to 2 milligrams per night. 0.3 milligrams to 2 milligrams per night. The treatment dose for melatonin, if you're COVID positive, you're being treated at home, it's 6 to 10 milligrams at night. Again, 6 to 10 milligrams at night. One additional aspect, and this is for free. If you're being home treated, you have COVID positive, you're home treated. When you sleep prone, sleep on your stomach. By the way, I know I move fast through this, but there's an attachment to this. Put that browser, cut and paste the link, put it in your browser, and all this information is downloadable. Let me say this. If you wonder what President Trump got when he was in the hospital, he got vitamin D, he got melatonin, he got zinc. There's some other vitamins that he got, but I only present to you information that I have read that is that comes from peer-reviewed academic journals, a listserv that I'm on, the CDC or Dr. Fauci. The information that I have presented to you is provable and verifiable. This is Dr. Geoffrey, and I would encourage you, be safe, look out for one another, and help manage a crisis.
Go to splitsecondDecisions.com. Now I'll take a few questions. Hey, what's up, Andrew Pickney? Adrian Jones writes, what about omega-3? I am not saying that omega-3 is not a supplement vitamin that helps. I have not just read anything about it. And just to save some people time, some people ask me about vitamin C, vitamin B, a few others. I've heard some information, and they could be true. But don't forget, the reason why you all trust me and rock with me, I have been consistent. I only present information to you that I can prove and that's verified, and that's from a listserv of physicians or peer-reviewed academic journals. Again, peer-reviewed academic journals. Let me add what I like about the melatonin. Do I take melatonin? Yes, because it has an anti-anxiety effect, which is great, especially during these anxious times, and it helps you sleep better. When you sleep better, you are less anxious. When you sleep better, you are less anxious. Let me connect dots. While there's nothing we can do to improve our immunity, I mean, there's no such thing as taking it above normal. All these vitamins, they say you can take it above normal. That's not true. But we can definitely compromise it. We can take it from a normal level to bringing it down. Chronic stress will do it. There's certain medications that will do it. And a long deprived sleep will do that as well. With the melatonin, not only does it have its known effect of decreasing the inflammation and its antioxidant, it helps decrease anxiety as well. Andrew, what's going on? Hey, Frey, what's going on? How are you? Adrian Jones, Sammy T, what's happening with you? Hey, Kyle Tari, I've been taking vitamins D and zinc for the last few months. Fantastic. Keep it up, because I didn't run the numbers, but if vitamin D gives you a preventive effect it gives you a prevention benefit, zinc gives you a prevention benefit, and melatonin gives you a prevention benefit, you're further ahead than everyone else. And keep in mind, now listen to me on this one, because you don't misinterpret me. This virus is it is so out of control. This virus is so out of control. It's very likely that you can contract this virus. Don't be afraid. We don't want to, obviously, we don't go out there shooting for that. 97% of us, that number's not changed, who contract COVID will do just fine. But if you're like me, I want to make it less likely for me to contract COVID, which vitamin D is shown to do, as well as zinc. It helps prevent it. Not sure how. But if I do get it, I want to make sure I stay a part of that 97%. Your vitamin D, your zinc, and your melatonin. Anything I say should not be taken as medical advice, just for information purposes only. Talk to your doctor. Let's keep going. Thank you very much for that. No problem. Michelle Brown, what's going on with you? Oh, the questions are rolling. Hey, Terry Matthews. Hey, you're welcome. Sammy, I take vitamin D, Ellie Fish oil. Vitamin D3, that works. James Green, you're welcome. Frey, I have horrible dreams on melatonin. Then perhaps melatonin may not be for you. Horrible dreams may cause too much anxiety, but you know what I'm going to say, Frey. Talk to your primary care doctor. If I were taking melatonin and it causes horrible dreams, would I stop taking it? It just depends on what the dreams were. But I would probably stop taking it. But I would encourage you to talk to your primary care doctor. Gene Bean says, I am allergic to vitamin B complex. What's the substitute? I don't know. Don't know. Let me just, again, I appreciate that question. Let me just share with you all. I'm a board certified emergency medicine physician. That's what I do. I still treat COVID patients. I'm not a nutritionist. Just so happened, I research these vitamins as it relates to COVID. So I would encourage you to talk to your primary care doctor as well. Sammy says, I love melatonin. She sleeps soundly. Okay, good. Hey, Shantae, does taking melatonin affect your regular sleep? I'm not sure. I am not aware of that. What I am aware of is that as we age, our melatonin levels decrease. And hence why you see older people often having difficulty sleeping. This sleep cycle. I do not know. Adrian Jones, so you take it at night. Yes, you take the melatonin at night. You take it at night. Why? Because it has a drowsiness effect to it as well. Terry, that's hey, good. I'm glad you trust me. Good to hear. Good to hear. My doctor is recommending for sleep. Even prior to COVID, I took melatonin for sleep as well. Does this melatonin every day affect your normal sleep cycle? I'm not sure about that. That's a great question. Thank you for sharing, Alicia. No problem. Ida, have you read anything about old blood types versus to COVID? I've read something about it. It didn't hit my radar mainly because it was such such a small sample. But I've read something about nothing that I can speak fluently about. But thank you for the question. Hey, Gary, what's going on? Hampton, you in the house? Yes, good job. Hey, for my Hampton folks and my HBCU folks, well, actually anybody, share this information. This one was a good one. It gave you a great deal of information, all concise, easily digestible. And in case you didn't notice, it's all done. Most of the information is presented in the first 10 minutes. But I would still encourage you to get the bit.ly, put it in a search bar. I also gave you information as it relates to how to deal with Thanksgiving. And by the way, you're not going to like this. Get ready, especially for you moms and dads who have college kids coming home. Follow me. If your college kid is coming home for Thanksgiving and the plan is for them to go back to school after Thanksgiving, here's a recommendation. Don't let them come home. Yeah, don't let them come home. Why? Because they're most college kids are not isolating. I know everybody's kid is different except for your kid. But these are an infectious group of people. They are the super spreaders. I would not let my child come home. You're saying, well, why do you let them come home if they're not going back? Because I'm a parent. You're not going to be able to keep your kid away forever. So if they're coming home for school, coming to like Thanksgiving, and they're not going back, then I would do things like have them tested first, have them isolate prior to coming home, wear a mask. Attached to the same website that I'm giving you this like download, it's a special bonus about how to deal with Thanksgiving. Thank you very much for that, though. Angela, can you break down the units of vitamin D? Is it 2 units or 5 units? What's the milligrams? So, great question. Vitamin D comes in two forms. It comes in micrograms, and it comes in milligrams, in units. It comes in units. I have given you the unit recommendation. Giving you the unit recommendation. Whether or not you purchase it in micrograms or whether or not you like purchase it in units. If you do micrograms, convert 2,000 to 4,000 units per day into microgram. I used to have it up here. I think I know what it is, but I can't mess. I don't want to mess up on that dose. You can easily Google 2,000 units is equal to how many micrograms. But that's an excellent question. Dreams about huge spires, never taken again. For instance, and that's kind of, I appreciate you adding that because things are so stressful and so scary. Let's just take a moment and Frey says that when she takes melatonin, it causes horrible dreams. And she dreams about huge spiders. Well, I would probably stop. I would probably stop taking that. But thank you for that. Ida Henderson, have you read anything? Okay, I answered that. I've heard some mentioning using D3 with certain individuals recommending to use D3 instead. I think, Pamela, is what you mean, D3 or D4. D3 or D4 doesn't matter from a long-term point of view. But just know it takes 5 to 7 days for you to get the benefit of the vitamin D. It takes 5 to 7 days for you to get the benefit because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. So it takes a few days to build up. So I would encourage you to talk to your primary care doctor if you're going to start it, and then to start taking it sooner versus later. And Gene, what's going on with you? Gene Bailey writes, vitamin D company is one of the best to order from. Which one? Oh, I don't know. I go to Safeway, either Safeway or I don't give companies on. I don't give them free advertising. I go to whatever the market is, and to be honest with you, whichever one is on sale. It's as simple as that for me. Amazon, whichever one is on sale.
I should probably do a little research into them. I don't. Because why? Because so for the vitamins, everybody makes them. So I'm not of the opinion, although I'm not an expert, that anyone makes them better than the other person. Vitamin D, thank you, Ebro. I had a answer right. My family's taking vitamin 3, zinc, and now all will be taking melatonin. Cool. And make sure you share that with other people. Thank you so much for getting this. And then finally, look, the vaccine's coming. You heard me say this. I will say it again. There's a blind spot that was created with the mainstream media. Here's why. Did you ever notice that when they wanted to communicate to older people, they would have a mainstream media, they would have an older person so they could relate and communicate. When they wanted to communicate to the Hispanic community, they would have a Hispanic person, a famous person, get out to your senses. And that's reasonable. When they wanted to get to the Black community and to get out to that vote, they'd have a star or an athlete. Cool. But as it relates to COVID, which was impacting people disproportionately, why all of a sudden did they not use Black doctors? And look, people of color, to me, does not mean Black doctors. I only ask that question because now that there's been a lack of Black doctors on mainstream media consistently, when it comes time to sell this vaccine or to convince Black folks to use this, who is there? And people want to put it on Black folks. Well, why are you all so scared? In an article that will be released soon, I talk about the Tuskegee experiment. But not only that, there have been several experiments that they used on Black folks, not people of color, but Black folks prior to releasing it to mainstream media. So there's an understandable fear. I'm not going to let you re-victimize us by saying there's something wrong with us. No, history has shown us that, wait a minute, when it comes to a vaccine, we need someone who we trust. That's just my position. And didn't mean to get off on that tangent. Here we go. Consumer.com Labs is a good test site for vitamins for efficacy. Good one. Thank you. But I think it's worth it. Good job. Do you recommend the flu shot? Now, listen to how I say this. Please. Listen to how I say this because this is key. If you've had the flu shot in the past, yes, I highly recommend you getting a flu shot. If you have never had a flu shot in the past, I would encourage you to talk to your primary care doctor. Those are two different things. The reason why you see me pause now is because I've had a few friends say, hey, I've never gotten a flu shot, but due to what you said, I got a flu shot. And I had to share, that's not what I said. I said, if you have gotten a flu shot in the past, yes, you should continue to get one. If you've never gotten one, not that it's wrong, but you should talk to your primary care doctor. All right. Hey, I think this, ask myself, me and my family will not be taking the vaccine unless I hear it from you. Ida, I do appreciate that. Ida, let me just tell you how this is going to play out. Don't listen to when I take it. All right. You can let that be one data point. But when I say, hey, I recommended my wife and kids and mom and nephews take it, that's another data point. The threshold for me taking it will be a little bit lower because I'm still in the ER. They may create some policies that I may have to take it, like I have to take a flu shot. So I wouldn't let that be your threshold. Your threshold should be do I recommend it to my family? That's what your threshold would be. And by the way, just as the coded language, people who know me, they know what the coded language is. You should listen to, well, this is what me and my family are doing. But because this is a crisis, this is why the first time you've ever heard me give dosages. First time. But you heard me give dosages and say, talk to your primary care doctor first. Nothing I say should be taken as medical advice, just for information purposes only. And then we will, I heard the first time you get a flu shot may make you sick. Once I hear Geoffrey saying he's getting in it for his family. Pray, thank you. She read through that. And again, now let me be very clear. I've not done any of the research. I'll just be reading through my papers, but I come with the same
concerns as you all. Just because I'm a part of the medical establishment does not mean I don't share in the same concerns. But the good thing is we have a few months to think about it. That vaccine will not be available for for a few months to the mainstream. Now let's end this. Hey, everyone. I will say this again. If you're not feeling anxious, no stress about what's going on, and have not gone through an anxious or a stressful or a concerned period, then God bless you. Because most people have gone through that period. The third wave that's going on right now is the mental health third wave. And that's why on Thursday at 5:30 p.m., I have Dr. Trinice Harris, a Hampton graduate, but who's a Harvard psychologist who will be giving us tips for this mental health pandemic. And I think it's key. I think it's absolutely key because while you may not be going through it, somebody may be. And so again, part of us communing and dialoguing together is not necessarily to hear me talk. It's to spread the information. So we can be super users. You all, is my expectation that you go out and share the information with great confidence. I've given you all the information that you need to download, but information is key. So you've got to go out and spread this information. I dealt with it on a different live, but should you get together for Thanksgiving? That's a serious question. Attached to that Bitly, so Bitly is where you can go. It's attached to this live. Put it in your search bar. You've got to give me your email address. Yes, your email address. I get everyone's email address, so in case someone hacks me again, we can keep this going over Zoom. But there's a lot of great downloadable information and I give you 12 tips, 11 tips for how to have if you're going to get together for Thanksgiving. It's not my recommendation. If you're going to get together for Thanksgiving as a family, how to do it safely. I've got to be honest. Me and my family are getting together for Thanksgiving, but we're all within a 3-mile radius anyways. But we're also going to do the thing of isolating 7 days prior, just to make sure no one develops any symptoms. I know the recommendation is 14, but 7 days prior, we're going to isolate just to make sure no one develops symptoms. And we're taking temperatures. And there's a heavy. If you got a temperature, you're not coming in. All the families have agreed. How would that work out if somebody's family member walks up with a temperature? It's going to be interesting, but I have a feeling the whole family, that particular whole family, is going to leave. It's like if I show up and my son Geoffrey has a temperature. You think I'm going to let him spend Thanksgiving alone? No, we're going to leave. Then my wife's going to leave. His sister may choose to stay. But all right, here we go. I think that is it. Everyone, be safe. Spread this information. And just know it's okay for you to feel a little stressed. This is going to get better too. All right, Dr.